Hey, it's me. So, this is my reflection paper for my second year, fall 2015. Going with strengths and weaknesses. My strengths, as we did the strengths quest thing, it was responsibility, relator, communication, empathy, and strategic. With that being said, my strengths as a communicator are probably a lot more than being a relator and just communication in general. Because in being a relator, I'm able to express myself using examples that the person may understand. For example, like with my teammates, it's easy to use a track analogy to prove a point, whereas with like a regular student, it's easier to use like just a random life example, if that makes sense. So, and then communication in general, like um, just being able to adapt to certain people's way of understanding um, and get my point across. My weaknesses are, besides the fact that I talk fast and sometimes like you won't be able to understand it. Um, I I guess I can come off as I don't even know how to explain it. When I communicate, sometimes I'm just very direct and very blunt. So I guess my weakness there would be I may not be as sympathetic as someone may need me to be when communicating with them, um, or I may not seem as heartfelt as certain people may need. I'm an orange all the way, so I may not be as good as communicating with blues who are more emotional than I am. I effectively utilize these my strengths by I'm able to get my point across, like regardless of how nice or harsh it may come off, they get the point. So I guess in that regard, I'm an effective communicator. But again, that weakness where I may not do it as sympathetically as I should is how that goes. I adjust my communication to deal with particular situations by I mean, everybody's different. Like, I know, for example, my blues, Tanea, I know that if she's having a situation with like her boyfriend, I need to communicate with her, more calmly and just like, oh, well, because I know she's gonna, at the end of the day, no matter what I say, she may take into account some of it, but she's gonna do what she wants to do. And me knowing her, I already know where it's going. So with her, I'll be more like, okay, well, maybe you can try this and maybe you can try that. Or if there's like, as opposed to my other friend, like Alize, if I like, we both know, like, okay, no, this got to go. So depending on like friendships, I know how to like balance between expressing my thoughts. However, like in class situations, I'll probably just be blunt or just say whatever it is that's on my mind and communicate in a coherent and educated type manner. Um, and then at track, like practice, if I feel some type of way about something, I'm just gonna say it and in a respectful way, but also expressing like this is how I feel and that's what it is. So I guess depending on the situation, like whoever I'm communicating with, like my level of respect for them or my relationship with them will kind of determine how I communicate with that person. In terms of an ethical dilemma that I faced this semester, honestly can't really think of one. Um, yeah, I can't think. I mean, no, that wasn't this semester. Okay, I didn't face one this semester, but if I can, last semester, um, Cornell tonight, like some of us SAC members had we volunteered at the Special Olympics, which was basically a track meet put on for kids with special needs, and I noticed that the teachers that were helping these special needs kids were being excessively rough and aggressive, and it threw me off because I'm like, there's a reason they're called special needs. Like they're separate from us. Like no matter how much you may want to treat a special needs child like they're normal, they're not. And I don't mean that to be rough, but like you like things you can do, like you can yell at like a normal person or get attitude with them and get your point across. You can use sarcasm with a regular person and get your point across. Special needs kids, A, they don't understand it or they don't interpret it the way you mean it, and then B, they don't really deserve it. So, for example, they were lining the kids up for this race, and one of the special needs kids, he couldn't hear, so they were sign languaging with the teacher, and she said like she called him by name and said go, and he was like, who, me? And she was like, no, the other one. And I was just like, I looked at Cornell and I was like, wow. And then there were other instances where the kids would come through the line and like teachers are pushing them through or grabbing them really hard. And that bothered me because I'm like, that was my ethical dilemma. Like, what do I do? Do I speak up and say something to them, or do I just, kind of stay in my place and, just be that bystander? And um, I ended up not confronting the people themselves simply because we were already having issues. Like Cornell was already about to go off on them because of the way they were treating us as volunteers. And I know myself, like I have attitude, and sometimes when I'm emotional, like in the heat of the moment, I don't know how to be as respectful as I may need to be when it comes to things like that. So I just spoke to Cornell about it. We talked about it, and so that didn't really align with my ethical values because I'm normally the type of person to speak up and for the ones being victimized, but in that case I didn't. So I was kind of disappointed in myself, but at the time I thought it was better to just kind of be a bystander as opposed to being the outspoken and sometimes disrespectful person I can be. um in terms of how I've seen some of the leadership concepts that I learned this semester manifest, I've definitely seen social contingency within my track program. My coach will, he treats our, like, we have three different groups. Well, his groups, his athletes do. So he'll have our 1 o'clock group, which includes myself, which is the short sprinters, all girls. Then he has a 2 o'clock group, which is the male short sprinters, and then a 3:30 group, which is just the four, like the mid long distance group. And my group, the 1 o'clock group, half of it is mostly freshmen, and then like, um, but it's our group is more. I don't know. The girls tend to have like a more negative mindset when it comes to certain things. They will doubt themselves, say I can't do this. They may not be motivated. Some of them BS the workouts, as opposed to his 2 o'clock group where the guys, they're on it, they're hitting their times, it's no problem. And then the 3:30 group is like they're the best. So he based on the group he has, his demeanor will change and his way of communicating will change. For example, the girls had three 250s, and if just 250 meters around the track three times, and there's a certain time you have to hit, and none of the girls hit their time the first one, so he just said just go home. And that's something he would not do to any of the other groups. Like if the guys in the 2 o'clock or 3:30 group didn't hit their time the first rep, he would just get on them and say, guys, like come on, you gotta hit this time, pick it up or whatever. He wouldn't just send them home. So I actually ended up sending him an email about that later that night, letting him know that giving up on your athletes isn't really the way to go about improving their skills. And then we ended up having a whole team talk about it and everything. That's just because that was something I didn't approve of. And as an athlete, like I wanted to communicate that to him, like that's not okay. And actually, we had a really productive conversation about it later. Um, I work on gaining understanding from and building relationships with people by listening and observing. Um, Although I am pretty good at communicating, I also um, look at people's responses, and I'm able to judge like what I did wrong or what I did right. Like sometimes I may take it too far, like be a little too blunt, and sometimes it's like okay, I was too nice, they didn't really get my point. So in that regard, I really look at people's responses when I'm talking to them, and based on that, I like analyze myself and what I can do to improve um, communicating my communication skills. Um, I have been able to utilize the leadership practice inventory and team development by well, you when you learn certain concepts, you see them more in the like happening in the world. For example, seeing like how I said I saw situational contingency with my coach and how he coaches certain groups, or like the great man theory type, how people just assume because they're, for example, we have a guy on our team, Donovan Ellison. His aunt, Rochelle Stevens, was a former Olympian. So people assume just because his aunt was great at track and Olympian, he's going to be great in Olympian. I know great man is more like father son, but just in that familial regard, people just assume like, oh, you come from a great line of athletes, so you're going to be great. But that's not always the case. Um, then my value for in regards to my organizations, I am in SAC, which is Athlete Advisory Council, and I'm a member of the women's track team. I also crossed track by track fraternity last semester. We're still waiting to be recognized on campus because you have to have a certain amount of members, and we only crossed the line of like five. Um, but my values are in line with each organization. With SAC, it's about getting student athletes together and giving us a voice in the legislation that affects us, being active members of the community, doing service learning opportunities, and so forth. With track, we're a big contributor to athletics and the university in general. Um, and as an athlete, like kids look up to that. Like, oh wow, like you're in college, you're an athlete, and having the gear on and everything, it means a lot to them. So when we go out and do activities with them and for them, it really impacts them. So in that regard, my values are right in line with it. Um, Track by track, it's about bringing other track athletes, collegiate track athletes together who have a common goal, common values and morals, and what I'm saying, making a change or a difference in the community as well. And we do service opportunities with them. So then what skills are needed by the organization in order to achieve its goals? um, Management, communication, responsibility are probably the main three I think of. um, if an organization isn't organized, it's not going to function. So, SAC, we have set meetings once a month. We send out reminders weeks in advance, then the day in advance, then that morning, then 2 hours before, like making sure people are on it. Responsibility, it's each member's responsibility to make sure they make their schedules available to make those meetings, get there on time, and whatnot. And then management, like we have Cornell, he's really like the overseer of everything, and he's amazing. He's excellent. He organized everything, even the pizza that we get at the meetings. Our president, Aaron Persinger, like he gets everything set. For example, we vote on NCAA legislation, which is like certain rules that either give us freedoms or restrictions as athletes. And so he'll print out the packets and to hand out to us at the meetings. So that kind of preparedness is necessary, as opposed to him just reading off a list of things and we're just kind of trying to keep up. An organizational example of a time when I had to take an active role. Oh Lord. So we have Oscars at the end of the year. It's kind of like our version of the Oscars awards. It's basically a big award ceremony for all the student athletes, and we discussed it at SAC because we're in charge of get everything organized. And so we have group meets. We use group meets to communicate to different committees and blah blah blah. So in one group meet, um, AP, our president, had said, "Hey guys, I want us to get together and have a meeting and get and generate ideas before break. This is before Thanksgiving break." And like no one was responding and whatever. So I jumped in and I said, "Okay, guys, so when are you guys available?" And then I said, we can do our meeting times are always at 8 o'clock. So I went ahead and kept that there. I said, "How's Wednesday, December, whatever, at 8 o'clock?" And people were saying, "Oh no, that doesn't work for me," or "I don't get that practice," so this and that, which is really frustrating because I understand, like, okay, step one, telling me that doesn't work for you, okay, but then step two should then be to tell me what does work for you. I shouldn't have to go through every day in the month to see and then hope I hit one that works for you. Like, that's not how this works. So that's what everyone was doing. So then I said, okay, fine. Clearly, we're not going to be able to meet before Thanksgiving. However, it's going to be like a necessity that we meet before Christmas break. So I said, how is, and so everyone was saying excuses like finals, I got to study, I got to do homework, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, fine. Classes end December 2nd, that Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was. How's the day after that at 8 o'clock? That we didn't have that. And I was just basically in their message, like, getting all this organized, getting everyone. I said, okay, if Wednesday, December 2nd at 8 o'clock works for you, like this comment so I can get a total count of votes, whatever. And that's what we did, and it worked, and we ended up having the meeting. So in that regard, and like later my president thanked me, like, thank you for stepping up, and blah blah blah. And so that was my example. Community service. I went and did spooky nights at Shelby Farms. Um, I also did a canned food drive several times with Cornell, going to different games and accepting donations and donating myself. Also going around to different sports teams and having them donate non-perishable foods. Um, Also did this. It's called like Buy an Angel, and it's where you or you get other people to. It's like they give you different kids. Like you get one off a tree, and then for that kid, you donate gifts and whatever, like to make their Christmas great. Um, and I also did Zubu at the Memphis Zoo, and so going back to spooky nights, it was laser tag, and like a hay setup. It was little kids, so we're helping them get their gear on. We're helping them play and carry everything, and letting them know, hey, you're dead. You got to go. Get your life back. Um, for the canned food driver, explain that. And then for Zubu, my station, we were broken up into different stations. My station was to be at the front, the entrance, and hand out the candy bags for the kids to go trick or treating with, and a map as to where each section was in the zoo, and help direct and guide people for that. And that was a team thing. Like the entire track team did that, so that was pretty nice for us all to come out. Doing community service has helped me understand diverse cultural, political, and intellectual views. Um, I just seeing how different people act and interact when it comes to community service. Some are genuinely, wanting to help, provide for the community, etc. Whereas other people are just like, okay, I'm here, so like you should be happy that I'm even here, type thing. And it's just so you just get to see the different mentalities, I guess, with the people you work with. um the next thing, willingness to seek new experiences. I'm so down for trying new things, and going out and doing different opportunities and see what I do and don't like. Last year I had done starry nights at Shelby Farms, which is cool. They had a petting zoo. I love animals. Had a petting zoo, got to ride a camel. It was great. This year I tried spooky nights where I did the laser tag thing. I didn't like it as much because the management kind of sucked on in that regard. But I mean, again, like there's no regrets. You learn as you go along. Um, Ability to work well with others. I'm great. I know how to keep. I usually keep, like, I know when to keep my mouth shut or like to not go there. Just because it's not always necessary for you to speak up and say something, regardless of how you may feel, just for the sake of sanity and peace. So, and I'm able to learn like what the community needs. Special needs people, or like the community needs for them to have more things that make them feel special, and like for them to do. Um, I mean, they're already separated like in classrooms and in life in general, so they for them to have something that makes them feel more like a normal person is something we need, and I've learned that through this, and it's great doing it. um yeah, I'm able to recognize the short term and long term aspects of community service. Short term, like those kids in the meet, um as soon as they cross the line, you get in the ribbon, they're all, smiles. It's great. And then, long term, they may have that ribbon on the fridge, and then like it'll remind them later on, like, of an accomplishment they had. Or at Zubu, these kids, smiling with their trick or treating bags, and then later on, it's like, oh yeah, I remember, mom, dad, and I dressing up and going to the zoo and getting candy. So just being able to put smiles on people's faces and give them, contribute to a memory that they're going to hold for the rest of their lives is definitely something that I've I've learned and been able to recognize. For speakers, we went to the um, panel with about the black crime or hate crimes, I guess, the brutality with police. It was a very insightful panel. Great. I thought the speakers were great. They had, I believe, two black gentlemen and a Caucasian woman. Each expressed their points very, very well, eloquently, and um, that influence. I mean, I already agreed with them on most of the points they were saying in regards to the fact that this is something that African Americans have been dealing with from since like the 1900s, and here it is 2015, and where cops are literally killing, murdering innocent black people and getting away with it, and it's just outrageous. So to be able to, and we actually had, but well, back home in Baltimore, they had the Baltimore riots after Freddie Gray was murdered by a cop, and um, I always said like, you guys may not like our methods, but you gotta like our results because out of all the different crimes where cops have been killing black kids and getting off, Baltimore actually, like, well, I mean, not saying rioting was the way to go about it, but it did end up getting, a conviction for that officer. So that's definitely, and the knowledge I've learned from the speakers, it's just, I know now, like, as a being a youth is a big aspect of speaking out. Like, people want to see the young people caring about what's going on in the world and taking a stand for it. So going forward, should there be any peaceful protests or what have you, I will be a part of it. Also went to the Lunch of the Leader conference where this woman shared her story of how she seen a lady outside of Walgreens and with her baby, decided to give her a ride, ended up kind of getting kidnapped or like held at gunpoint and tried to escape and got shot. Um, and with that story, I felt. I mean, personally, like my initial reaction was like, well, duh, it's common sense. You don't, I don't care. I mean, not I don't care, but regardless of who there is or what the situation is, it's late at night. It is. I mean, I'm not saying it is Memphis. Memphis is dangerous because stuff like this happens everywhere. But just nowadays, you really have to be more cautious and careful about the things you do and the situations you put yourself in. So in my mind, I was like, I know common sense ain't that common, but really, you're gonna give her a ride. So I would, had it been me, I would have called her an Uber or something like that to make sure she was able to get to where she needs to go without putting myself in harm. However, I learned from her ability to forgive the person that did this to her. She when she told us that she had gone to the person, tried to figure out like, why did you do this, like what was your reasoning, um and her doing that, she it just taught me a lot about forgiving other people and like be able to get past, one person may see it as like, how could you forgive her? She shot you. She was trying to, but then understanding people's circumstances. So it's kind of more like not excusing anyone's behavior, but being able to step in their shoes and, um, see where they're coming from, what made them do whatever it is they did. So, and that can apply to different situations, regardless of the severity of the situation. Just being able to look at other people's perspectives is very useful as well. Um, my most valuable, well, no, my greatest accomplishment this semester has been keeping my grades up. I think I've maintained my 3.9 GPA or 3.86, whatever it's been, this semester, and that's with being a full time student, athlete, working two jobs, and making sure all my obligations are met, as well as performing at the levels I need to be performing at. So that's my accomplishment for this semester. My greatest challenge has been, I mean, this may not be relevant. I mean, I'm trying to lose weight. Over the summer, I gained like 25 pounds just from like eating all the time and not working out. So that's my greatest challenge in that regard. But that also goes back to self discipline. Like, you have to make, as much as I love my Cajun chicken and shrimp pasta, can't have it. You need to eat an orange or whatever. So I guess that's my greatest challenge. Most valuable learning opportunity or experience this semester. Um, I want to say it's a mixture between sack and track. With sack, it's I've learned that even though you may not be on the board or up there, your role you don't have to have the title to have responsibility. So being able to step up regardless of your position is essential. And then with track, just being like the veteran on the team. I'm the only one who has a varsity letterman jacket or whatever because of scoring at conference last year. So being in my group, it's up to me to motivate my teammates to get the workout done or to keep a positive mindset. So just having the freshman group with me has been a good experience, and then um, SAC as a whole has been a great opportunity that's helped me as well. My goals for next semester are to keep this GPA up there good. Um, to get down, I got like 10 more pounds to lose, and I'm good there. I really want to focus on getting myself in the shape to be breaking records. So that's my goal there. I also want to get better at communicating and being more sympathetic to people when speaking to them. Um, okay, so rating of abilities, articulate your strengths as a leader. I would say before maybe a three, 3.5. Now I would say four, 4.5. Integrating leadership concepts and or theories into organizational experiences. Before it's probably like a 2. Now it's about a 4. I'm able to recognize things more. Align your values with your actions. Before it's probably a 3. Now it's definitely a 5. Um, think critically. Before it was a 5. It's still a 5. Build teams within an organizational context. Before it was a 4. It's probably a 5 now. So sorry, it's 26 minutes. I tried to be short, but I talk long. Yeah, have a great break. Merry Christmas.